thank you very much for inviting me to join you this afternoon. It might be worthwhile to tell you a little bit about me, about the work I do, and then we can go into the program. I'm Kenny Moore. I'm married. I have 2 boys under the age of 15, so my mental health is not all that it once was. I've been with my company 22 years. I'm primarily responsible for awakening joy, meaning, and commitment in the workplace. To date, I've been a miserable failure in that effort, but I remain eternally optimistic about the future. I am proud to say that through some of my efforts, employee morale at my company is at its all-time high of 2%. I'm optimistic we can get that up to 2.5% by the end of the millennium. You're in HR, you know how difficult a task that is. As you know from the tape, prior to coming to corporate America, I spent 15 years in a monastic community as a Catholic priest. Actually, both jobs have proven to be quite similar, except the incentive plans vary greatly. When I was a monk, 20% of my superiors thought they were divinely inspired. Now that I'm in business, the number's up to 80. They once asked Pope John XXIII how many people worked at the Vatican. He said about half of them. So there may be some common operating principles in effect when you're dealing with large hierarchical institutions, sacred or secular. I want to thank you for leaving the front pews empty and for sitting on the back. As a former man of the cloth, it makes me feel oddly welcome. Several years ago, I had the good fortune of being diagnosed with incurable cancer at its most advanced stages. This is the same cancer that killed Jackie Onassis, Paul Tsongas, Richard Harris, more recently Wendy Wasserstein of the Heidi Chronicles, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I spent a year over at the National Cancer Institute outside of Washington, D.C., undergoing experimental treatment of aggressive chemotherapy, followed by full-body radiation. I was one of the few fortunate ones. I survived. I came away from that experience recalling the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes, who said most of us go to our graves with our music still inside us. I'm trying to not let that happen to me. I'm honored to be here this afternoon to join my music to yours. A few years back, I woke up early for a business trip to Boston and had a heart attack. I was invited to be sawed in half and given a quadruple bypass. A subtle reminder that my time is running short. When I came out of that operation, I lay on my hospital bed, hovering on the brink of death. My beloved wife came in the room, leaned over the bed, and gently whispered in my ear, "If you die and leave me to raise these 2 small boys alone, I'll kill you." 15 years in the monastery had not adequately prepared me for such a show of marital love. The monastery taught me not to fear death. Marriage has changed all. Some of the work I do at my company revolves around employee surveys. I design them, I administer them, tabulate results, put in plans, action items to make responses. I continue to track trends across corporate America. There are 3 disturbing findings that surface in every employee survey. First, nobody cares. Second, employees don't trust Problems with trust, belief, and caring. When I was in the monastery, we referred to this self-same dynamic as a crisis of faith, hope, and charity. It's my belief that corporate America has a spiritual problem as much as a financial one, so maybe it's not all that odd that this monk masquerading as a businessman is here to talk with you today. The way the program will work is I will speak, you will fall asleep. I will wake you up when it's over. You will ask intelligent questions. I'll make believe I have answers. Hopefully we could all collude so that nobody gets embarrassed. I ask at this time if you could take out your cell phones and pagers and place them in the on position. Any distractions you could offer within the next hour or so would be most welcome. Before I go into a business model that underlies some of the work we do, I'd like to share with you an experience I had when I was a newly ordained priest. One of my first assignments was to say Mass for a group of kindergarten students. Now, I had just received my master's degree in theology, 50% of which I did not understand. I had no idea what I was going to say to 6-year-olds. So I took the nun aside as a good sister. What should I talk about? She said, Father, actually you can speak about anything you want, just keep it simple. Okay. So the day came for Mass, and about 6 of them paraded in, filed into their pews. They were very well behaved. The nuns were with them. They came out on the altar. I said the opening prayer. We did the readings from the Bible. It came time for the homily. Being somewhat young and creative, I invited the children to leave their pews and to come and sit around me at the altar. And recalling the advice of the nun to keep it simple, I said, children, the Lord our God is one. At which point the boy raised his hand and said, when will he be two? I stammered. Eventually I said, December 25th. You can all go back to your pews now. We'll continue on with the sacred liturgy. Why that experience stays with me is it actually parallels my 22 years in human resources. I have all these answers, but people keep asking me the wrong questions. And I'm forced to make it up as I go along. Similar to what I'm doing now. So let's take a look at a model. Models are ways of looking at things. You should have handouts. This is a model called The Way Things Work. So we're in business. We've been there a long time. Many of us are used to dealing with problems. You'll notice I have terrible handwriting. They say that's a sign of greatness. My wife says it's also a sign of mental illness, which is why I got married. So problems. We deal with problems all the time. That's why they hire us. That's why we get paid. If you're good at dealing with problems, you should be getting solutions. Dealing with problems is wonderful. Right? You got a problem? I'll help you solve it. And then when I do that, I feel good. I feel like I've made a contribution. I've had my expertise used. I go home that night and I feel like I've made a difference in the world. I sit down to a lovely dinner with my wife and family. I get a good night's sleep. I wake up the next morning refreshed, look forward to go back to work, to solve more problems, to make another positive difference in the world. If you're good at solving problems in corporate America, we promote you.